Hello guys, and welcome back to the greatest podcast for remote sales and online business development, the Growth by Jordan podcast. I'm super gassed to be here delivering another episode with you guys today. Today, I'm going to take it a little bit more personal than the other episodes where they've been so fully focused on sales and business. Now we're going to talk about some of my experiences before I actually got into sales and how that shaped my mindset to actually attack sales and business development with the sort of level of effort and energy that I've given it over the past few years. These are the experiences that shaped my mindset. It shaped my work ethic, and it's the way that I approach business today. At Sales Growth Club, we have a saying: we train our mind, our body, and our sales game like athletes. And the reason we say that is because I have trained my entire life like an athlete, because I was an athlete. Now, I used to push my body to its limits. I still do push my body to its limits, but when I was an athlete, I would fail more times than I won, but I never quit. And it shaped my mentality to this day. Now, this is the kind of discipline that makes the best entrepreneurs. It's the same kind of discipline that leads to success. And the reason it leads to success is because you do fail more times than you win typically in a sales role or as a business owner. And you need to constantly endure those failures and learn to love them in order to transfer those losses into lessons and those lessons into wins. Now, today I'm breaking down exactly why athletes make the best entrepreneurs, or why people who train their mind, body, and sales game and business game like athletes make the best entrepreneurs, and how training your mind, body, and sales game like an athlete is going to give you an edge in sales, business, and in life. Now, to give a bit of context about myself, ever since I was 8, I trained at a very high level. I started out swimming, but I really found my thing when I moved into athletics, and I was competing amongst middle distance and long distance. So I was excelling in distances like 800 meters and cross country, although I dabbled in a few others, 400, 1500, that sort of stuff as well. Now, my whole life was built around two things. It was education and training. And that was a complete non-negotiable. It was not up for debate. My parents made it clear to us all that we needed to have the best education and we had to be fit, right? That would be the same for myself, my older brother, and my younger sister. I even remember my mum telling me that I couldn't have a girlfriend whilst I was in school because it would be a distraction. But little did she know I had a girlfriend the entire time, and she didn't find out until like 5-6 years later. But that was life, right? It was school, training, repeat. There was no parties. Parties were very rare. No drinking, no smoking. Well, at least not then anyway. And there weren't many people doing what I was doing. I would rush back from school. I would hurry up and get ready. I would go to training because that was my passion. And I would do that every single day, including the weekends, right? The weekends weren't for chilling. I would either compete or I'd be training both days, both Saturday and Sunday. Like, there was no rest, right? My entire life was dedicated to that specific thing. But I was locked in and I loved it, right? I was passionate about it. I would work on my diet. I would make sure I would sacrifice fun for competitions. I'd be battling through injuries, the constant pressure around burnout, feeling like my body couldn't do it anymore, but I would always push myself to those extreme limits. But at the same time, like, that's what was normal, right? That was life. Right? That's something that I just did every single day. But looking back, I was definitely the minority. Like, there weren't many of my friends that were doing the same things that I would. Usually after school, they'd go home, they'd play games. On a weekend, they'd want to go out. Me, I was completely different. My attention, my energy would be focused on training. And now that I have a much mature mindset, like, I get it. And I understand that those activities, the training, putting yourself into situations where you need to be determined, disciplined, engaged and focused, that's what separates the best from the rest. And if you do that at a young age, you do grow up to have the skill set and the knowledge and the attributes needed to be successful, specifically in sales and business, but we'll get into that in just a moment. The resilience, the determination, the discipline, you don't just wake up with those things. They're not things that are natural to human beings. You need to build them. And the only way you can build them is by putting your mind and your body through resistance every single day, day in and day out. And you want to be doing that for something bigger than yourself, right? There needs to be a purpose. Like, what are you doing this for? I always say you need to have your reason why. Otherwise, you don't have the motivation to do anything. If there's no reason why, then why would you do it? And for me, my why was all about becoming the best athlete that I could be. Unfortunately, I never reached my full potential. At one point, I was competing at the highest possible level for my age category, but unfortunately, I faced recurrent injuries. I broke my foot, and then I struggled with an Achilles problem off the back of me breaking my foot because everything was just weak. And that was because I was so determined, but I was also very young and I didn't understand the injury process and how long it actually takes and how committed you need to be to rehab. And I came back way sooner than I should have. I was competing still at that high level, but then, the Achilles went soon after. So it was a bit of a shame for me and it was a tough time to have to go through. But honestly, I just wasn't really the same after that injury. I packed on a lot of muscle over university because I essentially got injured just before uni, went to uni, and I replaced my training for the gym. Right, because I needed to do something. And I still lifted like I was an athlete, like it was a combination of cleans, squats, deadlifts, that sort of stuff. But I packed on a lot of muscle. And in fact, I packed on about 10 kgs worth of muscle. So I went from being quite slim at 67 kg to moving up to 77 kg very quickly. Now, because of that, I was too heavy to compete amongst the distances that I was doing. So 800-meter athletes are usually quite light. I couldn't do that anymore. Same with cross country. So I had to shift my focus and drop my distance down to 400, which is more of a sprint. So it accommodated my weight a lot more. But at the same time, I had been training my slow twitch muscle fibers for such a long time. Now I had to completely change my training routine, focus on fast twitch muscle fibers, and essentially start from scratch. So it was a bit of a nightmare, if I'm being completely honest. Also, during all of this, I had started my career. So I'd left university. I kind of came to the subtle realization that I wasn't going to be a professional athlete anymore. And I started a career in sales at a software company. And my priority shifted because now I'm thinking, well, I have to make money, right? This athlete stuff isn't going to pay the bills, right? So I need to make money. And managing that change again was like a really, really tough process for me because I knew that my purpose and my reason why I had to shift. Right? I no longer had a purpose to be the best athlete. Now my purpose was to transfer those skills that I learned into a whole new possibility and see what I can make out of it. But again, in those early stages, I literally had no clue what I was going to do, right? I started in a SaaS company. I started in sales. I loved sales. I believe that sales is the path to entrepreneurial success. I just didn't know how to use that to become a business owner. But either way, I took the same work ethic that I applied to training and applied that directly to the way that I approached sales and business. And from a young age, the reason I did this is because I knew from a young age that being an athlete wasn't about natural talent, it wasn't about personality, and it wasn't about luck. It was about constant skill development, making small but very crucial adjustments to improve your performance, showing up every day, and putting in as much energy as possible into learning and mastering your skill, and also taking advice and knowledge from the best coaches and listening and implementing instantly. All of those things made you great as an athlete, right? It was just constant tweaks. And I knew that you can apply those same understandings and those same principles to sales and to business, which is exactly what I did. And honestly, it's exactly what I still do because it's all about consistent effort, constant improvement, subtle tweaks in your game, and never backing down from the grind. If you're able to apply all of that into your sales role, you're going to be massively successful. So you need to approach sales and business like an athlete. Think about it. Michael Jordan didn't just show up 2 hours a day, watch a few videos, make a few shots, and then blame everyone else when he missed. He dedicated every single waking moment of his career to being the very best. And it's the same for athletes like Usain Bolt, Tom Brady, Cristiano Ronaldo. They dedicated every single waking moment of their career to being the best. And that's why they were. So it's the exact same when you're a sales rep or when you're a business owner. To be a top 1% rep, you need to treat your sales game like an athlete. And to excel in business, you need to do the exact same. You need to train your mind, your body, and your sales game like a pro athlete. You need to define your purpose. You need to make it happen and you will go far. I hope that's been insightful for all of you who are maybe going through the same thing. I know that I've speak to a lot of athletes on a day-to-day basis, and it seems to be a common thing where athletes transition into sales. So if you do resonate with any of that, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram and pick up a conversation about how you can get involved in remote sales and how you can leverage your unique skills, your mindset, your abilities, your discipline, and apply that to online sales and potentially online business development as well. If you just want to get involved in remote sales and you want to learn a little bit more about my story, then feel free to DM me anyway. I'm more than happy to have conversations with listeners of my podcast. But also, I run a private close friend story where I talk about everything to do with remote sales and online business, literally give all of my advice, my tips. I share my insights, resources, all in my private story, and it's completely free. All you need to do is DM me the passcode 888, which is the angel number for financial abundance. DM me the passcode 888 and I will get you access to my private close friend story. All you need to do is type in Growth by Jordan, the exact same name as this podcast, into Instagram, drop me a follow, drop me a DM, either 888 or any questions you have about making a transition into remote sales. And I'm more than happy to pick up a conversation. But until then, I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Peace, guys.